So we worked together for 30 days now, and I'm curious what it's been like for you.
The most surprising thing for me is that you were so fluid with being flexible. That really helps me because had I known what the last 30 days would have entailed, perhaps I would have overthought it and it kind of would have been counterproductive. So I think the flexibility element's been really good. And also, strangely, there's been as much growth outside of our one-to-ones as there has been in it, because a lot of what you say resonates. Like going out in the real world and seeing how other people behave, how I'm responding to that, how I'm thinking about that, how my energy is impacting others. These are all things that I was experiencing, but you helped me think about the questions and how I answer them. Like I've almost found myself a bit wary of working with you because I'm letting you in, right? And I've let you in. Nothing bad's happened.
Good.
Good things are happening. That's the best way. That's the best I got
Okay.
for you in terms of
I love it.
my opinions.
That's the ultimate idea to be able to apply things in the real world. So I'm happy to hear that. And what are some of the changes that you've seen since we started working together?
Do you know what? When you asked me, I was very scared to answer because anything I would say, you always had a follow up. So, yeah, in terms of the changes, that's very hard to express. I think the best measurement of growth for me is almost my interactions with people. How does that go? How do I connect with them? How do I feel afterwards? And I find myself speaking to people that before working with you, I didn't think too well of. I thought their ways were alien to me. They offended me, and it took a lot of energy to be around them. And I think now I can be around their energy and maintain mine. And I think that's something that I've struggled to do my entire life. Their energy's become my energy. I think when we started working together, I described myself as a chameleon. I was meeting these people and I was like always mimicking their energy, and that's exhausting. It's almost like the film Ghost, you know, when Patrick Swayze becomes a ghost and there's all these ghosts going into people's bodies, and then after the ghost leaves, the people are like fucked because they're someone else is inside them. And I think I'm able to be around people and still be me, whatever that is. Fuck, that's a deep one. But I can just be around them and I can make room for me, make room for them. And I think while I've not given you anything specific at all, I think those sentiments are pretty powerful, you know?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do you mind elaborating a little bit on that thing you said before about how, I had kind of like a follow up on everything. What's that about, and why did that make you a little bit nervous?
Because there's something about the experience that makes me feel I'm being examined and observed. And I realise that is happening, but you're doing it with the right intentions, and you're doing it because you want to help me make a bit of dollar on the side. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But the follow-ups were good. I'll give you an example. You would leave me all of these audio messages, and I would listen to it and be like, "Oh, okay, this is what she's saying. I'll come back." And you'd be like, "Steve, listen to them again." I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I listened to them again, and I heard something completely new. And you're like, "Steve, we listen to things at different levels, different layers, different dimensions." And it was like, "Fuck, you're right." And I realised I was doing that with people. I was doing that with instructions, for God's sake. Like I'd read instructions and be like, "Oh, okay, you know," and then it wouldn't work. I'm like, "Oh, fuck." Someone told me the other day, they were like, he called me over. I was at a gym and I was in a car park and I was leaving. The guy came to me and he said, "That's a one-way street." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And every time I've been going to the gym, I've been going down a one-way street. And it made me realise that it was right in front of me the whole time. And I never saw the sign. And I guess that's my way of using a metaphor for pretty much my everything, is that I'm seeing what I want to see. And sometimes I'm getting more aware, and then I'm seeing some more. And then sometimes broccoli comes in like a boss and just goes, hey, listen again. And then I do. And the biggest breakthrough for me was going out there in the world and just letting it all hang out, seeing what happens. And fortunately, pretty good. I remember being in Richmond Park and telling you about this guy in the office, and he was this fucking lion, and I was like doing this, and you just like, you gave me some feedback, which is not necessarily what I wanted to hear, but it was really healing, because I knew you come from a good place. You wasn't trying to hurt me. You wasn't trying to get a reaction out of me. You were just like, look, you didn't tell this guy why. So he reacted that way, and I took it personally and just snowballed. And that's why I think working with you is going to be good for me, because I'm doing it in a safe place. Because we live in a world where people aren't looking out for me. They don't want the best for me. They might even fucking hate me. I don't know. But in the right place, in the right time, good things can happen, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that it feels comfortable enough that it's okay to encounter even challenges and challenging ideas, I guess. Um, what has the role of receiving this challenging information has been in your change, your personal change?
Can you repeat that again? Sometimes I listen so intensely, I kind of get a little bit overwhelmed. Just
No
repeat that.
worries, no worries, of course. The feedback I've been giving you, which at times may feel like challenging, yet, it's still, it's coming from a good place. What role does this honesty play in your personal journey? And how is this different from anything else you've done before?
Because in the same way that you were giving me feedback was the same way that I was giving feedback to myself before we worked together. So I would constantly be talking to myself about things like ruminating, boom, talking to myself. And your feedback made me realize just how much my self-talk and my self-feedback and the stories I tell to myself, how destructive they are, how that was making me feel like that. So as you began to get in my head in a good way, I was starting to see, like, fuck, why am I telling myself I'm broken? Like, why am I trying to get this person's approval? Like, you enabled me to kind of self-audit, go through it. You could say the role you played was a stark contrast to what I was doing on my own. You once made you've mentioned Star Wars you've mentioned Star Wars at least once since we've been working together. I don't know when, I don't know how. Maybe I'm making that shit up. But the reason it keeps ruminating in my head is because it is a superpower. What I'm looking to get, like, it's powerful shit. It really is, and the penny has dropped for me in the time I've worked with you. So I'm kind of like hooked. I want to get to the bottom of this. The idea of me being in a world where I can control my own thoughts, feelings, like that's superhero shit, because we are, as we've said, in all the time we've worked together, we're in a world where people are trying to exploit the way we feel, exploit the way we think. They're trying to use the psychology against us, sometimes with us, but against us, especially, say, advertisement or propaganda. And you've made me realize that if we really figure out who we are and we control the controllables and stuff like that, we can then begin to kind of see the wood from the trees. And yeah, I haven't got it figured out yet, but as my granddad said, and as I told you, he said to me, Stephen, always surround yourself with people who are better than you. So yeah, I think you're better than me, Broccoli. Not that you asked, but I want to get the type of peace that I see from you. I want to, I look at the way you carry yourself in your social media and you're talking to me and your voice messages. I mean, I've got to know your speech patterns a little bit and I love it. But I want that for myself. I want to figure out what vegetable I am, and I want to figure out what I'm okay with and what I'm not, what I am okay with, and I want to be okay with things I'm not okay with without affecting my soul, if you like, whatever, spirit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I love it. Figuring out what kind of vegetable you are, that is incredible. I love it. Stephen, always with the best analogies. You are the king of analogies. um, and you also mentioned to me that you have tried other things in the past, right? Like therapy, maybe some stuff like that. Do you mind sharing a bit of your journey and what's been different about working with me versus some of the stuff you've tried before?
I can tell you without any hesitation whatsoever, I worked with people that dealt with the symptoms. You're working with the cause. It's the fundamental. We joked once, didn't we? We spoke about computers and about BIOS and really nerdy things about what a computer is and all the fundamentals of a computer and how it's stacked together. And I think abandoning that way of explaining things, you were someone that helped me figure out the root cause, my framework, the things in which I'm going to build upon, the cognitive behavioral therapy, the self-help books, the antidepressants. I don't think I ever told you that. All these different things. They never explored the why. They never explored the why. They just there was a bit of intellect. There was a bit of being intellectual with it. There was a little bit of like spotlight on little bits of information, but you've brought it all together. All together, it's all linked. And I think if you wasn't as flexible as you was, I don't think I would have benefited as much. That's my number one comment. That probably goes across all your questions. Your flexibility targeted my energy and my growth perfectly. And even when the one time you slightly misread the energy, and I'm talking slight here, and I said to you, "What? You keep telling me to listen to it again. I feel like you want an answer." And you were just like, "Look, Steve, deal with a lot of different people. I'm sensing their energy. I'm working with them. I got that. I was a little bit maybe. I don't even know what you meant, but you acknowledged that. I was like, okay, fair play. This broccoli, she's not trying to be something she isn't. You're a work in progress too. You're a different level. You're like Yoda. I'm like fucking Luke Skywalker. I don't even know, but that's right.
That's awesome. I appreciate that feedback. So true. We're all figuring out what kind of vegetable we are, and we're all at different stages. So nothing wrong with finding the right spot for yourself in the moment right now. Well, that's awesome to hear. So this flexibility, why is that so important to you? Like in the process of working together, why do you appreciate this flexibility so much?
I'll tell you why. Because through working with you, I've realised that there's something that me and you and 6 billion other people have in common. We have a brain, we have a body, we're consuming things, we're abusing things. And that's something that you've scaled up, right? I can tell that. Like you're geared up to it with the way I track my time, how I spend my time, how I'm feeling, who I'm sharing my wins with, all these things. But there's something I have that other people don't, which we've said in the past, the spirit, right? There's something unique about me. I have a hard time figuring out what it is sometimes, but maybe it's the language I use, maybe it's the things that matter to me, I don't know. And I think your flexibility works really well because you're realizing that I'm an individual. I feel special. I don't feel like you are. I don't feel like you're being 100% generic with me. You are to a point, right? I've got a brain and there's things that are going on with me that I have no people. I love the fact that you're leveraging all the other people. And I love the fact that some things are set in stone. But I also love the fact you're like, oh, okay, this wasn't part of the program, but it's affecting what is the program, right? Because I can't go on this journey with you if I'm distracted by something else. And I didn't even have to ask you. You just knew. You just knew. It's like if we had a session today, like for example, we were meant to speak about pre-grieving about my father. We barely spoke about my father because you identified in that moment, that's not what I needed then. You saw that, you knew that. And that's awesome. Because other forms of therapy and self-help and stuff, they've got a script. And that's fine. But life's messy. You get that. You get that. You get life is messy. And sometimes the approach has to be a little bit messy too.
Yeah, one would say human.
Basically, yeah. That's what you always do. You always take what I say and summarize it beautifully. We're human, exactly. And you're not trying to make me superhuman. You're just helping me use the tools I have and to be happy. And you could sell the bullshit. Like some people do, some people don't, but you can sell the bullshit, which is like this kind of like trance of, it's almost like, you used the word to me once, masking, this kind of masking up, this masking of what, what's going to solve it, but the masking tape comes off and then we're just left with the same shit. I mean, I've never met someone that's told me that it's going to take you around 12 years. I can't even remember the year, but that made me trust you because that's an inconvenient truth for you. It's an inconvenient truth. If you could do it in 2 years, you'd sell that shit because it's good, right? I say it negatively, but you were like, no, it's going to take time. I'm with you for a year, but you got to do it. That's how I see it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for sharing, Stephen. And lastly, what would you say to people who are maybe on the fence about trying this out?
Think about all the things you've done and think about what you needed to do to get there. Meaning, you don't try, you don't know. You don't try, you can't buy. Because I was on the fence, very skeptical. I was like, who is this broccoli woman? Why is she talking about us? Like, what the fuck? But you surprised me the most in a good way. So my question, I find this very hard to answer because I was on the fence and I got off the fence, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if people ask themselves, what are the best things that ever happened in my life? And what did I need to do to get there? They tried it. They gave it a go. Didn't they? I love coffee. It came from one sip. I fucking hate mushrooms. And I ate shitloads of mushrooms. I still ate them. But the point is, all the best things in my life have come because I tried it. Equally, all the things that hurt me came from trying it. And somewhere in there is a lesson, and it's different for everybody, but yeah, I'd love to use an over-the-shelf saying, we've heard it, haven't we? Can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. I'm better than that, but it's fucking true.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you for buying this lottery ticket. I appreciate your feedback.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Steven.